Our guest today is a 10th Planet black belt under the legendary Eddie Bravo. He's competed at some of the highest levels in Jiu-Jitsu, but instead of chasing more medals, he built something bigger. Patrick Donabedian is the creator of the 6:30 a.m. Day Slayer program, a space where he trains students like myself, not just to roll better, but to think sharper and move smarter, and win the micro battles on and off the mat. What sets Patrick apart isn't just his skill. It's the time, the energy, and his obsession he pours into helping others level up. He's built an entire ecosystem of learning: film studies, YouTube content, quizzes, private coaching, digital guides, a Discord community, you name it. He's a technician, he's a teacher, and most of all, he's someone who truly gives to the game. It's an honor to call him my friend and a brother. Please welcome Patrick Donabedian.
All right, guys, welcome back to Daily Deposits. I am Troy, also with my man,
David Thomas.
best barber in the world. Today, we have a special guest here. I know you guys are used to seeing just two of us. We have my man, Patrick. Patrick, welcome.
So, Patrick, you are here because you are a huge inspiration for myself. You're a big inspiration to why, Daily Deposits even exists with your programs that you run. You run the Day Slayer program, which is a 6:30 program at 10th Planet, correct? Mm-hmm. And it's a huge reason why I stay on track with some of my fitness goals, jiu-jitsu goals, and even some on the business side. So I figure I have, a big inspiration come on the show and kind of share a little bit about yourself, what you do, because you make a huge impact, not just for me, but other jiu-jitsu students as well, people outside. And so, I just wanted to let everybody know who you are and, a little bit about what you do.
Who am I? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm not someone who's on podcasts regularly. So this is going to be a fun adventure. I don't, I'm not like, I'm just kind of winging it. And so I don't have a boilerplate introduction ready for you guys of who I am. But I know, so first of all, I want to say that's really cool to hear because I'm inspired by you and the empire that you're building and the work you do as a barber stylist. And yeah, I mean, we met in the morning, 6:30 a.m. at 10th Planet headquarters in downtown LA. And yeah, I don't know, you mentioned your daily deposits. Would you call that a brand or a movement or?
So Daily Deposits is a reminder to myself that results don't come overnight. It's a reminder to keep doing the work daily, keep putting in some sort of work results don't happen overnight. My goals aren't achieved overnight. So it's just a reminder to keep going and keep adding a little bit every day to the goals that I'm trying to achieve. And so it helped me a lot with my personal growth journey, my fitness journey, even business journey as well. So it's just a reminder.
Yeah. So I think that maps on really well with what's been one of my mantras that I return to is this idea of micro battles, fighting micro battles. And that's sort of just stacking small wins every day, but also taking losses as they are, which is opportunities instead of failures that crush you. And so the everyday aspect, I'm up at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday, and more and more often that same time on weekends these days. And it's fun to, it's been fun over the past 7 years to find other people that are as crazy as me that actually starting every day, winning that first micro battle against the alarm. And because that moment, our body, everything in our body, when that alarm goes off, is telling us to stay in bed, and that is the first moment that we have free will every day. And so when you win that and you put your feet on the floor and start generating momentum and start stacking W's, and taking some L's, it's a fun journey. And I guess, jiu-jitsu, being someone who wasn't naturally aggressive and wasn't naturally a fighter, prior to getting into jiu-jitsu taught me that it's the path to victory and the path to becoming, a fighter, is to focus on the micro battles and to take the losses in stride and to become obsessed and just become obsessed with winning the micro battles, because when there's an opponent in front of you, they look like a monster, which in the gym, but also in competition, there's some guys you face that they look like they're on, they're juiced to the gills, and my old self would have, been like, oh, I could never beat that guy. But whenever I hit a wall in training and I'm not winning, I just like, okay, how can I drill deeper and how can I go more micro? And so, that's my take on this thing we call life, and you call it daily deposits. And David and Troy, I'm sure you have some way of looking at, the challenges
100%.
and the triumphs of life. But yeah, jiu-jitsu to me is like, we all get into it for certain reasons, and maybe we'll get into my story of how I got into it. But to me, it's, unless you're taking it off the mat, the lessons off the mat, it's kind of worthless. It's just another escapism. It happens to be kind of a healthy escapism, although, like physically, it's a coin toss whether it's actually physically, whether it gets you in shape, but also it can injure you sometimes. Mm-hmm. But what matters to me most is that I'm taking the lessons off the mat and applying it in my relationships and in how I work and do this thing called life. So that's a little bit about me so far.
Love that, man. Love that. Now, as you went through that, I did have a question, and I did my best to hold it. So good, thank you, man. I wanted to know, starting off, and then we can kind of go back to how you got started at some point. Like you said, we can touch on that. But what gave you that consistency to, be able to get up at 5 a.m.? How long have you been doing that as well?
I've been doing that since 2018 about. So I always wanted to be an early morning person. Like I just had that, when I was in high school, I wanted to become a Navy SEAL. That didn't really happen because I was focused on baseball for so long, but I always had this admiration of the people that like answer the call and are up before other people. It's kind of exciting. But it was also difficult, and I would try to, and then you hear about, and then as I got older, became an adult, I wanted to like make money, and hear about CEOs that are, they have their morning routines and they're up early, working out before everyone else, or, doing their work. And so I would try to do that, and, I'd do it like one morning and I'd be super motivated, and then I'd get drowsy in the afternoon and I'd take that afternoon nap, and then I'd try to go to bed on time the next night, and then I couldn't fall asleep because I just took a nap that day. And I was just in this cycle of like trying to do it and failing and feeling like shame and just like, oh, I'm a lazy person. And so this was like multiple years that I was trying to be this person. And it was kind of as I was transitioning from having a 9-to-5 job to doing my own thing. And eventually I just knew like, okay, I'm not going to do this until I really go all in. And my version of going all in was if there's, 10 to 20 people waiting outside of a gym at 6 a.m., that will get me out of bed, because I'm very shame driven. And so, or at least I was at the time. So I knew that I would always, even if I didn't get good sleep the night before, I would get out of bed. I would answer the alarm and I'd show up. And so that was my original inspiration to start like teaching jiu-jitsu at 10th Planet HQ downtown, is just to like, oh, I want to create this like ball and chain in my life where I'm just like chained to this program, and I have to answer the call.
You got to stick to it.
stick to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the reason for that question is because obviously a lot of people our age like to, go out, enjoy themselves. And, I had that schedule that every time I try to get up at 5 a.m., I take the afternoon nap, and then you completely crash. You completely crash later on. And it's like you try to get up early the next day and you can't. And or somebody has an event and it's like, oh, I'll stay till 10 and I'll be back home in bed, and it doesn't happen.
Right.
And it's like sticking to that. Even when he started doing it, I was like, bro, like, posting at 5 a.m. It's like, dog, how you doing this? You know what I mean? Like, what keeps the both of you guys going to do that? Well, we heard Patrick's reason. What keeps you going to do that? Like, what sounds that alarm for you and allows you not to hit snooze?
Yeah, so I think that the quietness, if that's a word, how quiet it is in the morning. Nobody's up. It's kind of like how staying up late, it's quiet also, but in the morning, I get quiet time to myself to think, to prepare for the day before the madness starts, because I deal with people all day, and the peace that I feel after taking time for myself, that keeps me getting up every day, because we have to take time for ourselves. And if I can just get an hour before waking up, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I usually spend time, I'll just take the time. Whether that's even sitting, just I'll either reading, journaling, stretching, staring at the wall. I just take the time for myself, and before I have to go out and I don't want to say perform, but go out and be of service to people. So,
got it. Something about that piece, right? Just like being just you and silence.
mm-hmm.
I've experienced that before. Right?
Yeah, there's some that what Dave was describing is the fact that it doesn't really take discipline at a certain point, because in the beginning it took some discipline and some, like I said, external factors of like needing to serve people at a gym. But once you get a taste of not rushing out the door and feeling like a slave to your job or a slave to whatever it is your first obligation of the day, you get a taste of that hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes of just peace, quiet, you doing whatever you want to do, whether it's virtuous or a vice, probably more virtuous that you want to start your day that way. But like even the fact that you have a choice, like I used to eat these like delicious McGriddles in the morning because I was like, I got up and I'm gonna give myself the
drenched with the syrup. It has the syrup inside the bread. Yeah, those are
I'd
fire.
meal prep a bunch of them ahead of the week, and I'd drench them in syrup. I'd make my own McGriddles. Yeah, so. But eventually, like just the hour of peace, I didn't need to use the McGriddles after a while. It's just like David said, like that meditation or that book you want that you never get to reading because you're too busy during the day, or that stretching that you should do but you don't because you're once again too busy during the day. You do it then, and it's just it feels so good, and you just want to do it again, and all you gotta do is get through that 10-second test of answering the alarm and putting your feet on the floor, and then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, I hate having to just run out the door. Like, or is it like you as soon as you wake up and you have to just go. Like that means you're already at the will of like other people or other things, and I don't like starting the day like that. Like I like the calm in the morning.
I'd say most people probably do start their days like that.
Mostly, yeah.
Most people probably wake up like right on time to, like, even me, I work from home like 3 days out of, well, I wake up and start from home every day. But it's bro, I mean, I'd start at 6 and I might get up at 5:58. Like I might hit that joint a couple times and get up at 5:58 and be like, oh, let me log on. But if I have to go somewhere, I do appreciate living without the rush, because once you get in traffic, most people are rushing because they waited up until that last minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I used to play that game of like, all right, what's the maximum amount of sleep I can get? Like, can I get an extra 15 minutes? And can I just, in my opinion, and this is kind of going against what I think most of what's said and in vogue these days in terms of life balance and stuff. Like, I think sleep is a little bit overrated, and we are so insecure about how if we're not getting enough sleep, and we really psych ourselves out about that. And and this really hit me when like I experienced, and I think we've all gone through this. Like, I've had weekend, like a Saturday where I slept in, or a Sunday where I slept in, got like super sleeping. I got like 8 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep, 10 hours of sleep, and I still got drowsy at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. It's just like that's what happens. You know, it's like our bodies do go through a cycle, and you do get drowsy at the time, and you deal with it. Like whether it's having a dose of coffee, or it's making sure you're on your feet and active during that time window. And you get better and better at dealing with it. And like, do I ever take a nap during the time? Yeah, I'll take a nap sometimes if I need to. But if I know I want to go to bed at a decent hour that night, I'm probably not going to take a nap. I'd rather have a little bit of precisely dosed coffee than take a nap.
What's a precisely dosed coffee? What do you mean?
Well, I try not to have more than 1 cup of coffee a day. And so most of that cup is in the morning, but I save a little bit for the afternoon.
Okay.
So it's usually like I make my coffee for the next day in the afternoon, and then I have like 2 to 4 sips of it, and then I put it in the fridge and cover it, and then I warm that up in the microwave the next morning. So
I've never heard nobody ration coffee like that, bro.
Really? Yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny.
It's a powerful drug, and I love it. But yeah, it's like I respect it, and I don't add cream or sugar because that makes it too delicious, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to abuse that drug.
Yeah, you're using it for its purpose, like the caffeine, and it's like you don't need all the sugary oatmeal. I mean, not oat milk. Just like the flavors and shit.
I mean, oat milk is delicious, so yeah, I would like that would make me drink more of it.
I had 2 matchas today.
Two
Oat milk, yeah.
That's okay.
I almost got another one downstairs, bro. But
go for it, man. Go get it.
I was like, nah, I can't do it, bro. $30 on matchas in one day is insane, bro.
Yeah, those matcha, yeah, they charge pretty high for those, right?
Yeah. I don't know why it's still like coffee, but your way, I'm gonna try that. Just using it for what it is, because you probably won't drink as much coffee if you're not adding nothing in it.
Yeah, you don't drink as much, and you treat it like a fine wine. Like, it is delicious. I love coffee, and you really taste the notes, whether it's kind of more lighter roast fruit forward, or it's more dark and chocolatey and earthy. You actually start to enjoy it. Yeah. So
nice, cool. So Troy, you tried out some jiu-jitsu today.
Yeah, I did, bro. that was interesting.
How did that go for you?
It went well, I'd say. We have to ask Patrick, bro, because I mean, you can tell me if it was a shit show or not.
he didn't die. That's
Hey,
always
you survived. You're
that's
here.
my baseline.
He let me live, bro. He let me live. But what I told you guys earlier, what it did teach me is someone always knows more than you, and you don't know what they know. Like, that's kind of crazy, because like I said earlier, if we're at a bar and it's like, all right, bro, you wanna fight it out, and then he knows all that he knows, bro, you're pretty much helpless. That's what that showed me. It was like, yo, there's things like that someone can like really ruin your day. No matter how mad you get, somebody can really ruin your day. But it also showed me that it's more of a defensive tactic. It's not like a offensive aggressor type of thing. And I could be wrong, but that's just what I got from today.
Okay. So the 2 big takeaways are, one is you don't know how dangerous the other person is, like the unknown unknowns, and then 2, that it's more defensive minded than you thought it was.
Yeah.
It's so.
Sorry to cut you off, but is there a way you can move that a little bit closer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds better.
Sounds perfect.
Cool. Just kind of do this
Okay.
gangsterly now.
There you go. Get comfortable.
Yeah, man. My governing philosophy, the quote that just informs everything I teach, the way I teach, and the way I grapple, is the Mike Tyson quote: "Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth." And that really goes against, centuries of most of the martial arts philosophy that I'm aware of. And I'm not like super well read on the history of martial arts, but most of them are more of just like drill the same move 10,000 times. Bruce Lee quote, 10,000, one kick 10,000 times. And, there is wisdom in that, but I think there's a lot more wisdom in Mike Tyson and like, or, Master, who's the Karate Kid?
Miyagi?
Master Miyagi. Is it Mr. Miyagi?
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, wax
Close
on,
enough,
wax
bro.
off like a million times. And like it's good. You got to coordinate your body, make things unconscious. But like Mike Tyson there's more wisdom in that everyone's got a plan so they get punched in the mouth. And so having respect that someone who's across from you might do something that you're not aware of, and knowing that, and then approaching them with a defensive posture and with an attention on anchoring yourself, whether it's to the floor or to their body, and creating connection to reduce their movement and their risk of, jiu-jitsu is a great martial art. You hear about it on every podcast and see it used in the UFC, but there's one fatal flaw in it: it doesn't work if you're asleep, if you get knocked out. And so that's something you always got to be aware of first, and be managing distance and connecting to your opponent, reducing their ability to be explosive and use movement. And that's kind of what gives me, as somebody who doesn't get in a ton of fights, I don't get in any fights in my life. All my fights are in the gym, and we're generally not punching each other, but I still have like you might say I have a confidence that I would like handle situations fine. In the past, I haven't handled situations as good as I could have, but now it's like with this understanding of really just like finding anchors, it just makes, it's just like I have a plan, and I know how to improvise when the plan doesn't work.
That's one thing earlier too that we talked about was like not turning your back. Like earlier when we were practicing, and it was like the natural human instinct, if you're gonna turn and run, is to, turn your back or something like that. But I never thought about like, somebody can really just strap you up and choke you out from like that just don't enter the regular human's head. And then I guess just growing up, man, it was always like, I don't remember jiu-jitsu or anything like that being a part of. I don't really remember that until after college. Like during high school, during middle school, like I don't remember anybody practicing jiu-jitsu. So it was like everybody was just like, all right, let's head up fade, punch, 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 punch. It's like nobody really had technique. So going into that was like, there's really like the grip and rip type deal. I don't know what it's called, bro, but that's what I'm gonna call it. But the grip and rip and
I think it's the drunk uncle elbow drag,
bro. That one, like just that. If somebody swings and miss, no matter how hard they hit, if you know how to, grab them at a certain point and pull them a certain way, it's like they become a rag doll. And that was something where I was like, whoa, like you really got no control over what somebody else knows.
Yeah, I don't, and I also don't have control over whether that move will work when they throw that punch.
Oh shit!
And that's the motivation to like get in the gym and do all this hard training and do all these rounds with each other, because we know a million other things could happen, and that move I taught you could work or it might not work. I might miss it, or I might flub it, or he might do something at a slightly different angle. But I've fought so many different micro battles. I have so much data that I'm like, okay, well, whatever else will happen, like I'm prepared for that too. But the only way to get prepared for that is to, you got to tap a lot.
Yeah.
You got to get smashed a lot.
I'd be pissed if I try that move and it don't work, bro.
I know, man.
That move you taught me today, bro, I'd be pissed.
With you, I believe in you, it would work.
Hopefully.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've learned a move and tried to do it and it doesn't work. Like, I think that's what's kind of kept me addicted to going back and learning. It was also, jiu-jitsu got me looking at my craft differently, of looking at how I can cut hair better. Because even though I know how to cut hair, relearning something like jiu-jitsu has taught me that there's so many other small things that I kind of overlooked in hair. And so I'm always approaching hair as a student now. And so I'm super grateful for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So when you let's say you learn, so that's a perfect observation. That it's more the rule than the exception that you learn a technique in class. It's taught by a black belt who knows what they're talking about, and yet you try to apply it against a live resisting opponent. And even if you do it right, like it's not like you're messing it up because you're not good. There's a good chance they'll shut it down. When you think of like learning a hair cutting or hairstyling technique and applying it, obviously it's like a still person that wants you to cut their hair. They're not dodging.
Yeah.
How does that analogy exactly work with that?
Yeah, I mean, learning different hair types, hair textures, and trying to fit it into the style that they want. It's a puzzle. It's not always the same. Now, if I have a returning client and we work out something, yes, it's the same. But when I get new clients and I have someone new coming in saying, hey, I really want to try this, but my hair texture is this, or just trying to fit the picture perfect haircut on that person in the best way that they know how, or the best way that they can show it. And it doesn't always work.
No, I totally remember. It's almost like you have to have some hard conversations. I remember when I first came in for a haircut and I had a certain idea of how I wanted to look, and he's like, man, your hair is growing in this direction here and that direction there. And it's like my hair, my calyx just go in every direction. I don't know what my grandparents' genetics gave me, my parents. But yeah, like I think I came out with you some weird style requests, and you were just like, I don't think that's gonna work.
Yeah. So to the example of, let's just say there's a blue belt, he's got good at one move, what'd you call it? The rip and dip?
The grip and rip,
the
bro.
Grip and rip. He got really good at the grip and
Get
rip.
your ass over here.
That would be, so I always compare the two of jiu-jitsu and hair because I think I would be a black belt in hair right now. And so that analogy of someone that just takes one move and just only does that one move and that's their go-to, and they try to fit it on every person, every scenario, every scenario. The equivalent in hair would be a barber fitting the same haircut on everybody that walks in. And it might work, but I mean, I don't think you only get so far in putting the same haircut on people.
Yeah, that sounds like it gets you to about a blue belt as a barber, which is because that is the first. I like when someone does master a move and they really get good at it, and like it's all I see them doing. Like I'm like clapping, I'm celebrating. That's a big deal because beginner's hell in jiu-jitsu, that first 1 to 6 months or 12 months is like, that's a tough time where you're the nail and everybody else is the hammer, and you're everyone's target practice. And you're just like, man, when's it going to be my time? When's it going to be my time? And, because that first month you're like, oh, this is amazing. Or this first week, maybe, this is amazing. I'm learning new things. And like, I'm doing what Jocko Willing told me to do and like get humbled. But man, getting humbled for like 6 months. And so, yeah, someone learns their first straight ankle lock, their first, I don't know, what's another, their first like Kimura from bottom half guard, or, these moves that like, you can kind of just memorize and practice enough and start like catching them on people. That's great. But then if you're not willing to change and become that next level barber stylist and not just give everyone the same haircut, just do the same submission on every person, like you're going to hit a wall. Usually it happens at blue belt. And this is when a lot of people drop out of jiu-jitsu. They hit a plateau and they're facing a certain caliber opponent that's not just going to, walk into that trap anymore. And yeah, it's just not fun anymore. And they're back in that, beginner's hell that they thought they escaped. And so, yeah, it's important to, I guess the lesson there is you're going to get punched in the mouth still. We got to have some other options besides that one wax on, wax off technique, right?
Yeah.
Grip and
Now,
rip.
you said 6 to 12 months, right? Is like the average time that you're just getting pretty much smashed until you figure out stuff. One thing,
Roughly, yeah.
One thing that stuck out to me earlier when you guys were going, there was no like thought. It was almost like second nature. How long do you think for the average person, or how long did it take for you for these things to become second nature? Because when you were teaching me shit, I'm like, okay, step to the side. Okay, slide back. Granted, it's the first day, so it's like it's something that I would have to repeat multiple times. How long did it take you before it was like working off instinct versus thinking about what the next step of the process was?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. It actually doesn't take as long as it seems to become, what would you say? Like things become instinct or second nature?
Yeah, it becomes like you're not thinking about the
Yeah,
process.
you're not thinking. Yeah, you can achieve that level of kind of flowness and, yeah, just unconscious grappling pretty quick. It's just that, like, think of jujitsu like a jigsaw puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a massive jigsaw puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part of jujitsu is not actually the physical or the getting smashed or the cardio even. It's the information overload. There's just so much and so many positions, so many sub positions, so many techniques, so many submissions, and so you are stuck in your head and you are trying to memorize, what do I do here again, or what are the threats, what are my opportunities, and so what you saw David and I doing is we were going all over that jigsaw puzzle. We had a lot of the pieces going, but so if a beginner tries to do what we did, like that's, it's gonna be, they're gonna not be in that flow state. But what I do with beginners and what I do with like any class I'm running is I really try to make it, just like I talked about micro battles, like I try to create micro games where we're just like, okay, we're just defining jiu-jitsu as this one tiny position. And not even a position, like this sub position, like closed guard, posture down. And the only game is, can you put your opponent's hands on the mat? And I call it like the floor is lava drill. And your only game is like top player, you're just trying to keep your hands somewhere inside your opponent's torso. Bottom player, just trying to swim their hand onto the mat. And you can get pretty unconscious at that, like day one. And so that's the path to that, like however you want to call it, unconscious becoming, entering flow state. Is just, you got to humble yourself and shrink it down. You got to have a coach that's going to set parameters that are going to allow you to like be set up for success. And then those micro games start to stack, and then you're getting more puzzle pieces, and all of a sudden you have you can see the picture of jiu-jitsu, like what you're doing. So it's I don't. It's possible to like really. It doesn't have to be beginner's hell for like 6-12 months. It can be actually fun week one, month one, like I said, but you do have to be willing to tap a lot.
That's what always kept me from it, though. It's like I told you, I went to one place before, and it was like I started off with that shrimp move. I think that's what you said it's called.
Shrimp escape, yeah.
Yeah, the shrimp escape. I started off with that, and I don't think they explained it as well as you did today. You know what I mean? Also, it was a full class, so I really couldn't get the one-on-one, like, oh, fix this. You know what I mean? It was just like, hey, guys, this is how you do it. And then we went into, like, practicing that. And I was just like, this feels like it's going to take me forever to learn. I was like, I don't even want to learn this, bro. Like, there's other ways to defend yourself without hands or feet. And I was like, that's probably the best way to go for me. Because it was too much. It was exactly what you said, bro. Information overload. Whereas it's just like, am I doing this right? I'm thinking about the next step. So I don't feel like I'm really learning. I went to like 3 of those classes, mostly because it was free. And then I dipped out.
Yeah, that's tough because there's a couple things going on there. Like one is coaches are sometimes impatient with a student not getting a shrimp escape because it's like they've taught it like 10,000 times and they learned it like, in their first week of jiu-jitsu, and it's like old news for them. And they're just like, why am I going back to like remedial math? Like I thought I was done teaching kindergarten. I want to teach like 6th graders or 12th graders or, Ivy Leaguers. Because usually someone who's a coach is someone who's like already talented in jiu-jitsu. Like they had a natural talent for it, however you want to define that. But like they got good at jiu-jitsu. And so that's like really far in the rearview mirror. And they're just like, man, why am I spending time on a shrimp again? So, as a coach, you got to like be very selfless and have patience for people. I personally I always just think back I remember the first day I tried a shrimp and I had to do a line drill and like get across, you're in a class and they're having everyone do line drills. And I remember being that like last guy who like couldn't. I was taking so long to get across. I didn't understand the shape of my body to like move my hips and cover distance. And I still remember like feeling so self conscious that I'm still doing this and everyone's done.
Is that you have to go in a straight line? Can you explain? Because I kind of see it in my head, but just for the people that don't know what
Yeah.
the line drill would be or what it would consist of.
Yeah, it's basically there's two ends of a mat, and during the warm up part of a jiu-jitsu class, people form a line, and their job is to travel across the mat from one end to the other. And the best way to move when you're in bottom position is by sliding your hips across the mat, and you sort of do this jackknife motion with your body, pushing your hips backward, and your head kind of dives forward in a way. And then you go the other way and back and forth. It's hard. I can't really describe it properly, probably. But it both feels difficult when you first learn it, and it feels kind of pointless because you don't see a big thing for me is demonstrating the teleology of whatever we're doing, and that's just a fancy word for like what are the ends, like what is this leading to, what's the destination. And so you might remember, I think one thing that helped was like as soon as I taught you the shrimp escape, I showed you like what you'd use it for. Even though it wasn't really a lesson, I was like, oh, here's how you'd get up without exposing your back.
Yeah, exactly.
And when we did a bridge, I didn't just have you do a bridge and then just be like, all right, moving on. I like showed you like, oh, you'd use this to trap and roll. The point of that wasn't to have you master a trap and roll. Like if you actually tried to do that, it would in a live situation, like you would have failed. But I wanted to plant that seed in your head. I wanted you to have a vision for what jiu-jitsu can be and have that excitement, the excitement as well as the patience with yourself. Like, okay, like it'll take a while to get here, but like I know that this is for something. And I'm not just being like a spaz, like literally like shrimping on a mat.
Yeah, yeah. This ain't just a move that I'm just sliding my back on the mat for no reason.
Yeah.
Like this leads to the next step, and then if you're in this situation, this leads to the next step where you can. Yeah, I that's what I'm saying. Like there's so many moving pieces. David, when do you feel like in your jiu-jitsu journey where you were like you had that aha moment? Like I got it. I understand this, and I feel confident in what I'm doing.
I don't know, maybe a year ago. But I mean, the cool part about jiu-jitsu is you get humbled every so often where something comes along where you're like, damn, I'm just really not understanding this, or it's just not working. So there's always humbling moments where I don't always feel as what was the word, confident. Like I don't. It's just
Now, would y'all say that's because the other person is that good? Or is it like basketball where you might have an off night and you're just not, you're shooting the same shots, but they're just not working?
I think it could be both. Yeah, I mean, there's some times where I go into class and everything just makes sense, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then there's other times where, I don't know, it could be something mental going on. It could be something going on with myself. It could be, but
I mean, tell me again, how long have you been training now? How long has it been?
maybe 6 years.
6 years, yeah. I gotta give my own opinion on that. He said a year ago he started feeling confident. I have some more objective markers for like how I respect for how he feels, but how the reality was like I can always tell when someone's getting good, not just based on my subjective view of them as a coach, but I just start hearing chirping from other students complaining about them. Like not really complaining, it's more like compliments. Just like, man, how do I deal with David's back attacking? How do I deal with David's passing? And I was starting to hear a lot of complaints about David, like starting about 3 to 4 years ago. So he's a humble guy, and so he didn't,
That's what I was gonna
notice
say.
that. But I'm the one who gets the reports from all my other students where like they're asking me questions, and it's always like they're a victim of him, or they're a victim. There's certain names I start hearing, and that's one of my favorite things as a coach. I start hearing there's someone who was like a white belt and struggling for a long time, and I start hearing complaints about them. And like I said, I say complaints in a joking way.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, like, when he said a year ago, I'm like, bro, 5 years to
No,
feel a little bit of confidence, bro. I'd quit. Like, I'm out, bro. This ain't my thing.
Well, I guess the confidence that I'm thinking of is going to a class and more so of understanding what the coach is saying. That's the confidence that I'm talking about. Confidence about, like, I'm already a physical guy as it is. We grew up playing football, right? So there's some level of maybe physical attributes that kind of help with the physical confidence of rolling around on the ground. But I'm talking about confidence of understanding what I'm looking at the moment, and being able to tie it to something that I already know, or tying it to a technique that I saw last week.
Do you think that was just hitting a threshold of like information and pattern recognition, or do you think something changed in your just mental state or your cognitive, like something you've just been doing lately that made it easier?
I think it was maybe a combination of both, but how I said I was comparing the two of jiu-jitsu and hair, I'm now almost comparing everything to jiu-jitsu and breaking everything down. So I think it's just a collective of multiple things that I'm looking at and the causes and effects of everything in life. And yeah, so I think it's just a better understanding of, I think it's just a better understanding.
Do you think you were like, let's say when you were newer to jiu-jitsu 4 years ago, were you comparing it to your craft and hairstyling that much, or not at all?
No.
It never occurred to you?
A little bit, because one of my other guys that I train with, Anthony, he's a barber, but he's also a black belt. So whenever he teaches classes, he compares the two. And I would agree with what he's saying, but I didn't understand the jiu-jitsu side of what he was saying. So I understood the hair part, but I didn't understand the jiu-jitsu side. Whereas now, if we talk about something now, I understand the two.
Yeah, that's something I wish I had learned and embraced earlier on in my just education process. I didn't really become conscious of the power of metaphor or analogy until basically just teaching over the past 5 years. How useful it is. Just take something you already know. It's like a shelf to put a book on. And a lot of times when we're learning something new and there's a lot of information, we're just trying to put it like in the air and expecting it to just like float when there's no shelf to put it on. So of course that information just falls to the ground and it falls off. But when you have, the flaw in analogy and the flaw in metaphor is that it's not a perfect map, because the map is not the territory, so they say. And so it's not precise, but it gets you there. And precision will come later. But yeah, using whatever you do for work, whatever you already have some knowledge of, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or, some movie, like thinking of just mapping on the new information to something you already know. It's, there's a thing called memory castle of like how you remember like 30 digits in a row, potentially, or 30 animals, species of animal, whatever it is. So you just like think of something which is your room or your house, and then place that item, place that number or that name on some item in your room, and then you just look at your room in your head because you already have that memory stored, and this new information has a shelf to go on, and then you have opportunities to reinforce it and build neural pathways and make it more precise, and yeah, man, that's cool that you figured that out with barbering.
Yeah, I think it's is this also where people say would you say you've mastered jiu-jitsu?
Would I say that I've mastered jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, and in the scope of what people refer to as mastery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would own that. Yeah.
And so because you've mastered it, are you able to look at other things like that? Like how you say you look at other things in an analogy type of way. Is that because you've mastered it? Like, do you have to master something to be able to cross the two? Because I feel like I've mastered hair, and I'm in pursuit of mastering jujitsu. So I got a refresher of something that I've already mastered. Do you have to master something to be able to break things down that way?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Well, I guess I'd say mastery, it's a subjective word. And it's relative. So I'd say my measure of mastery is compared to other things that I'm working at, other crafts and domains that I'm working on. And so I think I'm better at jujitsu than most other things that I'm involved in. And so by default, I think the thing that you have the highest level of mastery in is probably the most useful tool as a map for learning new things. And I do that with jujitsu a lot. And that's to say, like, our prism through which we view reality, our frame, our lens, is, you could call like that our religion. And jujitsu is the thing I practice every day. And we have the term, you practice something religiously. It's usually something you do every day. And you do start to see the world through that lens, and that's the metaphor through which you see the world. Now, as I get older, and I'm just like, full disclosure, I would call myself a Christian follower of Christ, and I'm working on seeing the world more through that lens of love, and not everything as a fight. Because I tried viewing the world through fighting, and it got me pretty far, but it didn't get me far enough. And yeah, it left me pretty exhausted. And ultimately that didn't get me far enough, but it got me pretty far. So it's a useful metaphor. But that's to give a philosophical answer to that question, where it's like, I'm trying to become, I aspire to be more of a master in being in love with life, and being in love with other people, and in relationships, and in business, and really just loving it rather than trying to fight it, whatever I'm doing,
I got you.
So, yeah.
I think that's a great way to approach things, man. Because honestly, if you look at everything like that, you will never have to use your mastery of jujitsu. Or it gives you less chance of having to use your mastery of jujitsu, because you're approaching everything with love. So I think that, people will kind of get that energy back, and understand that you're approaching everything with love. So if you approach everything with a fight, and it's like, oh, well, I can use this for, this superpower I got for the wrong thing versus the right thing. So I think that's a hell of a way to look at things, the way you're going about life.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, I wish I could say I was motivated by trying to be a good person. I do try to be a good person, but honestly, I really wanted to just do the normal way of playing power games, but it was just too exhausting, and too, yeah, and just it's not motivating enough. I don't know. I wanted to be, whether it, yeah, I don't know. I had a model of who I wanted to be as I got older in adulthood, and I found jujitsu, and I like mastering jujitsu was a big thing, and it still is, and I really enjoy it, but it's not the only thing anymore, and yeah, it's
Yeah, I think what you've done with jiu-jitsu and the Day Slayer program, and your whole system of coaching the class, and I think that it's awesome what you've built. I think that it takes a lot of hours to be able to, because you provide all kinds of resources for people. You came up with this whole system, like your Notion boards, your website, you've gone past just showing someone how to like choke somebody, right? You've broken down this system and turned it into you're an entrepreneur by doing this, right? Like you've been able to make this your career, and I think that's awesome. And I thank you for being in my corner on my path to getting better at jiu-jitsu and life and everything else that comes with that. So,
Man, that thank you for calling that. Like, it means the world to hear that from you, because like I don't always know that the extra parts besides just, you know, teaching on the mats is being used. You don't always know when you're like, whether you're creating digital products or you're just doing things that aren't necessarily on the mats, that it, you know, because a lot of the battle is fought off the mat. You know?
Speaking of off the mat, and we only got a few minutes before you have to head out. I wanted to ask what's one example of something that, because you talked about micro battles, what's one way that you can transfer that off the mat? Or what's one example
of transferring micro battles off the mat?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna try to think of, it's one of those things where there's too many, and so I can't think of any. But I'm trying to think of something recent. Okay. So growing up, I was a late bloomer. So I was like 5'3" in 10th grade, and so and not only a late bloomer in terms of height, but I also was like, it was really hard to put on weight, like muscle mass.
Yeah,
and
tell me
I was
about
an
it.
athlete, baseball.
Yeah.
Some people like want to punch me in the face when I say that, because like I just like can't, like I can't put on weight, and so it's both of, you know, it's, as I get older, it's more of a blessing, but when I was younger, it was a curse. And so I eat and eat and eat and eat. And, you know, and you played football. You both play football?
Mm-hmm.
You both, okay, yeah. So you eat a lot when you're, you know, as you playing defensive end, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like a good thing to eat a ton, and you can develop, and, you know, a lot of us develop eating disorders out of that. Or you know, you're overeating, and you get all your pleasure centers are lit up when you're, you know, binge eating, and it's hard to stop. And so it's something that I've been dealing with most of my life, where I use food as a coping mechanism, and I get away with it. It doesn't show, because I'm a hard gainer, and I'm very active, but it has taken its toll. It's just a huge energy drain when your stomach is constantly digesting food, and it's draining, and that's a major cause of drowsiness, by the way. If you're sleepy all the time, it's just like you're probably eating too much food, and blood's diverted from your brain to your stomach. Rest and digest happens. So, and so even when I knew that and I wanted to stop, I couldn't stop, and I would just keep eating and eating and eating. And so it's like, how do I? And I even, you know, and earlier in the day, you have the discipline to not eat so much, and I would do intermittent fasting. I do crazy 72-hour fasts. But the problem with eating, unlike like alcohol or something, is you can't cut it completely. You can't go cold turkey with food. It would be nice if that was possible. That would be way easier in a sense. Because like I said, I'm insane. I've done like 72-hour fasts before. I view it kind of fun. It's like a sport. It's like a sports challenge. So I had this problem, and I would binge eat at night, and then my sleep would be crap, because you know, you don't want to go to bed on a full stomach. Your heart rate doesn't really drop because you're processing all that food. And so I realized, like, how do I break this down into a smaller problem? And I realized, like, one thing is I had to make a new rule for myself, which is like, I can't make the rule of like stop eating at a certain point, or don't buy certain, like, you know, there's like little tactics you can use, but like ultimately, like if you know what addiction is, like it's a dragon you gotta slay. And so I just made a rule that I was like, okay, maybe I can obey this rule, which is like, I'm not allowed to consume content while I'm eating. Like I can't watch YouTube, I can't listen to a podcast, I can't watch TV. I just have to eat.
Conscious eating.
Conscious eating. I put no limits on how much I told my, like I treated myself with a lot of grace. Like I'm like parenting myself. I'm like coaching myself. Because a lot of times when we're stuck in an addiction or repeated behavior that we know is bad, we can't stop doing it. What makes it more necessary and why we keep doing it is because we're layering on not only the things about it that are hurting us, but also the guilt and shame. And I like, so it's like, how do I remove this guilt and shame? It's like, okay, like I'm not gonna tell myself I can't eat anymore. Like I'll eat as much as I want, but the rule is, you can have a party, you can have this food orgy, but you can't watch anything or listen to anything. I was like, okay, I can do that. And slowly but surely eating started to get really boring. I was like, I just want to get this over with. Like, this is like not like it tastes good, but like, all right, like show's over. Like I'm kind of full now. Like, I want to like, I want to listen to something. I want to watch something, or I want to get to work. And like slowly but surely, like I started to just have a much healthier relationship with food, and yeah, and I still now, like, if I'm with friends and we're watching something, like, yeah, I'll eat then, or like I'll break bread with people, and I think that's how we're supposed to eat anyway, is with others. It's like it's with our family or with our friends, and breaking bread is like a holy thing in my opinion. So that kind of distracted eating, I think, is okay, but just on my own is just this weird. It felt like, yeah, it was not healthy, and so I don't know if that makes sense as a micro battle, but I just made it like, okay, I'm not gonna like go on a whole crazy diet or restrict myself. I'm just gonna like remove this one little layer of distraction, and it's made it, yeah, and it's just like now I eat like a normal person again, and I have way more energy, and it's just amazing how much we think what we eat and how much sleep we get is the biggest impact on our energy. But in my opinion, it's just about our level, how much consciousness we practice, and how throughout the day, both in terms of like live in person with people, but also in meditation and sitting in silence and praying. And so, yeah, that's where it's like not taking discipline as much anymore. I still have the devil on my shoulder, and I still sometimes want to overeat, and I do. But it's just like the benefits of having energy and the benefits of having consciousness and not doing multitasking things and having this food content orgy is just so life-giving. And so, yeah, that's my micro battle off the mat.
That was awesome. You touched on a bunch of stuff in that answer.
By the way, I'll put, you got 5, we have 5 minutes.
I got a question for you. And this might inspire somebody out there listening or watching, right? Earlier you mentioned the 9 to 5. When did you know, like, hey, this 9 to 5 was like not what I want to do. I want to go straight into, teaching what I'm looking to master. And then also, so this is a 2-part question. Did jujitsu help you in the 9 to 5 life?
I think that topic is going to require a whole nother podcast. Like I think my answer's too long, but I want to see if I can come up with something that's like short and direct to that. Because yeah, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother.
That's
podcast,
not a 5-minute thing. My bad.
Yeah. Let's just say I'm really grateful jiu-jitsu has become as popular as it has, because at that time I like nothing else career-wise was working. And I was trying everything, whether it was working in the, as a server in a restaurant, or as not even a server, as a busboy, and I couldn't even get promoted to server. I like really wanted to get promoted. I like didn't get that promotion. Working at a pharmaceutical company and like manufacturing, wearing a hazmat suit, doing a graveyard shift, not getting a promotion there. School wasn't like a straight A student school. I got good grades because I studied hard, but like I wasn't remarkably brilliant in the classroom, and in a finance job, same thing. So, but jiu-jitsu was the one thing that just always, I just saw myself accelerating ahead of my peers, and I never really experienced that in any other part of my life. Now I do experience that in other parts of my life, because there were some mindset things and some just beliefs I had that were limiting me in a lot of ways. But at the time, making that leap from 9 to 5 was just like, this is the only boat that's not burning. So I'm going to ride this boat. as far as I can. And I'm just lucky by the grace of God that there's other sick people that want to, fight each other for fun at 6 a.m.
And do
It's
that
insane
every day.
that there's other people besides me that are like down for that. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. But yeah, there's a lot more to unpack for a future conversation. For sure.
No, I appreciate that, man. Because like I told you earlier, it kind of woke up when we were doing what we were doing. It woke up something that you don't normally use in corporate life. Like, there's no point where I'm trying to squeeze a guy at work. You know what I mean? And so like this part of me has died. Like growing up playing football, it's like hit the other guy as hard as you can, or it's a very violent game. So this violent part of me is like it don't really exist as much until earlier when we were doing our thing, and you're like, no, like put more pressure, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can, like, oh, we're men, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're here to be these warriors and do this. And it instantly woke me up like, yo, like you can use power and he can use power and you guys can use force and shake hands at the end of the day. It's that's how you're, I guess, supposed to be. You know what I mean? But you get domesticated almost into an office job, and it's like you never use these things that we've been given, these powers.
Man, hearing that is my favorite part of my job. It's like music to my ears when you say it. It's like woke me up to something, and that's both a mental and a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you made a discovery that like, oh, I can engage in this type of quote unquote violence, and it's I don't know, it like I can't describe it. It woke up some part of you that you didn't know that was sleeping.
Yeah,
and that's conscious, and that's my favorite part of my job. It's just like, oh, like you're becoming more of who you're supposed to be. That's what I want for myself. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for David. So yeah, it's like I love hearing it, man.
We were both okay with it, bro. I think that was the thing. Like, rarely are you in the space. And I even told David when I first walked in, there was something about it that, like, just being in that space, it's like you almost become a student no matter what, as soon as you walk in there. As you learn, maybe you don't feel that way anymore. I don't know. But I almost felt like a student just putting the stuff on and walking in there, bro. It almost felt like I'm no trained fighter. I'm not ready to walk in no octagon with no one, but it felt like that.
Yeah.
Like for a little bit, I felt like Izzy a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, that went away once we started going, bro.
You get there though, man.
Yeah.
Stack those W's. You'll get there. Before we wrap, by the way, David, I know you're gonna wrap. You're in charge here, but you're trying to be courteous of my time. I'm curious. Is there something, because you're maybe gonna go on something about the food thing? Should we save that for a future podcast, or is there something
we should definitely save that?
Okay.
I do like what you touched on about the physical aspect of like how we kind of hit that away. I think that's what woke it, like definitely woke me up when I went back in, or when I started jiu-jitsu. Because I think we're physical beings. Like, we're supposed to be active. We're supposed to be, moving around and playing and climbing and swinging and all this other stuff. And we get stuck in this like linear path of like waking up and going to work and then sitting down on the couch because we're tired or whatever the case is. So I love jiu-jitsu because it gets me active in that way of being physical, but also and I really want to say thank you for what you do, because on our last podcast, we were talking about community, and it's something that like is hard to build in a city like LA because there's so many things going on, so many different people, and what you provide is a place for community, and you provide a brotherhood, and you provide a place where people can go and they know that they're going to get something back to get better and take it out into their lives. And I thank you. So. And also thank you for coming on to the podcast because, like I said, you're a big inspiration to Daily Deposits as a whole. And, thank you.
My brother.
Hey.
Yes, sir. Hey, and thank you for coming to the beach cleanups all the time, bro, consistently.
Yeah, you hear that, guys? Patrick comes to the beach cleanups.
I do.
All the time. And we got another one for you July 6th, so I'm sure I'll see you there.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to the beach cleanup July 6th. Yeah, I think that's a wrap. I like I said, thank you. And we'll most likely have to do this again because there was a bunch of stuff I didn't touch on. There was some other stuff that you brought up that I thought was, especially about being conscious and things like that. And that's a whole topic in itself. So, yeah. Thank you.
We'll revisit, man.
I can't wait for the next one. I'm down anytime.
Yeah, I'm down. Well, this guy's got to get on the freeway, so.